fine.
Hello, everybody. My name is Barb Smith, and I am your host of Find My Team Conversations. And I am very excited today because we have two professional athletes who are in the circus. And we have Tad and Izzy here, who are a team in the circus. And they both started very early in gymnastics and dance, and then got into trapeze, right? Is that how you say it, guys?
Yep.
Trapeze.
Yep.
And now they're performing for the Circus Krona with the flying Tabaris. Did I say that right?
You got
Yep.
it.
All
Perfect.
right. So we're going to get started because these two are incredible athletes. I've been able to see them in person, and it's amazing. And if you ever have the chance, you should go to the circus and look these guys up because they're simply amazing. So first of all, how many countries have you guys been to? Well, let me ask
Working.
this first. Let me ask this
That's a
first.
good question.
How long have you been doing this?
Professionally, we've been working for about 15 years.
And
Yeah,
then
and we started separately, but we've been working together for probably almost 12, 13 of that. Yeah.
so you guys are a true team, but you've been doing this for like 26 years altogether, right? 26 to
All
eighteen
together, yeah.
years.
All the
Started very
training.
young.
Yep. Yeah.
So amazing. And working together that long, you must know each other so well.
Yeah. Quite well.
And it
Um,
probably helps to know each other because
it
we're
does
talking
definitely.
inches
Um,
and seconds, aren't we?
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And because I'm the one that she does all the flips, I'm the one that catches her among other people doing the flips. Um, and it does definitely help to know everybody in the act, especially I know her very well, obviously. But I try to get to know everybody we're working with because, everybody performs a little bit differently each day depending on how they're feeling. And that'll affect how I do my job a little bit. So I like to watch everybody a little bit before the act and see how they're feeling. The timing is so precise that he knows if I have extra energy that day, then I'm gonna be extra high. So he needs to match his swing accordingly. It's
Wow.
the timing of the tricks and his height for his swing is so precise. So
So
he watches
explain,
everybody before the act.
yeah, explain the difference between flying and catching and what are the responsibilities and how does that all work? Because when you're watching the circus, both sides are kind of doing this and then certain people are doing other things. So explain flying and catching.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on than hopefully the audience notices. Um, it's all about timing, obviously. And the flyers are doing most of the work in the act. They're doing the tricks and they're doing it. Everybody's watching. And then the catcher basically reacts to that and has to catch them. But the timings are very important for a lot of stuff they do in the tricks and also the timing that they jump off of the platform so it matches my swing. And generally, I call that timing. I yell to them for them to jump off. And then also when they do the flip to come out of the flip, I call that timing. But then there's also other stuff that they have to worry about in their trick timing wise. So the setup, I feel like we should take a step back. The setup is we have like a platform over here and myself and depending on how many people we have working with us right now, we have a team of 10. So myself and seven other people are standing on this platform. And then we have a trapeze bar that's like hanging from a thing here. So we can reach the trapeze bar and we take off of that platform. And then Tad is swinging on his trapeze over here. So I take off from my platform while he's swinging. He calls that timing. I do my tricks in the air, and he has to meet me at the right height and the right timing. I open up and into my trick, and he's able to catch me. And then we swing back together. I go back to that bar over here and land back on that platform over here. So that timing and his height is what he was talking about is
Yeah.
the super important.
Now, I do a lot of work with teamwork and, teams, for high school student athletes trying to find the right team, but also for corporations in how to make teams work. And you guys you have to be on the same page. Um,
Your life is literally on the line. Yeah.
yeah. And so what, how did you get there? How did you have, this is a strong bond, obviously, it has to be. What are some of the things, the challenges that you have to maintain that sort of trust and just yeah, that kind of you got to trust each other with your lives.
Yeah.
In the circus, there's a really big understanding that we live together, we work together, we can have our differences sometimes, but when you go into the circus ring, when you do your performance or you do your practice, you can't bring any of that with you. So they say like leave it in the back, and once you go in the ring, once you start your performance or start your practice, like you trust each other, you have to, because literally our lives are on the line and you can get really, really hurt. So everybody has this mutual understanding that this is how it works. And once you're there, once you're practicing or performing, everybody is super focused and super serious about it. Um, we can have jokes between us, of course, we do that, but any differences that we had in the past, they can't be involved.
Yeah, leave it out of the ring and just do your job when you're in the ring. Everybody works together. And then outside, yeah, sometimes, people have disagreements or whatever. Like in any work, especially with everybody living and working so close together.
Yeah.
Um, but then when it goes in the ring, then you just got to do your job.
Yeah, I love it. And like I said, I got to see it even so far as Tad, you were walking the net as they're setting up the net
Mhm.
that would catch somebody if they fell, and obviously catches you all when you dismount.
Yeah, and
You
we
walk
always have a net. We always use the net. There's a lot of movies where they might not and stuff like that, but we always use a safety net.
and you walk around that thing like you're a pilot in an airplane. Like when they walk
Mhm.
around a plane, you walked and you checked every single joint. And so
Yep.
I know that that means a lot, and probably to the people who are using that net, but also yourself, and just knowing we're ready.
Yeah, that's one of my jobs is I'm in charge of all of the rigging that we use to both putting it up, taking it down, and then in the show, putting the net up, taking it down. I'm responsible for all of that. So I do try to be very careful checking everything, and sort of have like a mental checklist of each point that I go around to look at to make sure it's put up correctly in the show. And like the one you saw, I was very lucky. We had the intermission of the show to put up the net, so I have a lot of time to go around and look. Sometimes we have to do it a lot more quickly, and I do have to trust other people to look at stuff. But generally, there's somebody there on the show that will help me look at it, and I can trust, or other people in the act that I know what they're looking at, and will give me a hand checking everything too.
And then those of us that are not out there have to just blindly trust that he's really on top of it. And every single day, every single show, he can do his job to the best of his ability. And we land in the net just blindly. Like,
All right. All right.
yeah,
Yeah, but there's no test, right? You
there's
just,
no test.
yeah.
Well,
No,
usually I'm the first one that goes, so I'm the test.
that's true,
I'm the
actually.
first to dismount, as long as everything goes well in the act. We don't
Yeah.
miss any tricks.
But every single time we take off the platform, there is a serious risk of landing in the net.
Mhm.
Then we train how to land in the net. That's one of the first things we do. We practice all of our tricks just in the net first. And then we have him
Yeah,
hang it.
learning the tricks. Everybody learns their tricks without me there. Generally, I'm not even up there. Might be on the ground watching or just hanging there and not trying to catch them many, many, many times before we actually try to do the trick with me hanging there trying to catch them.
Right. Right.
But in the show, we do miss like
Oh yeah, it's
fairly often.
yeah, trapeze is certainly not a perfect art, and there are people that almost never miss, but they're rare. Most people they're going to miss occasionally, and we've been doing it a very long time, so we're quite consistent with most tricks. But then there are also the more difficult tricks. The triple somersault is what we end, not quite end, but that's sort of like the big trick they have the drum roll for. And we do miss that. It definitely happens. Sometimes we'll repeat and try again. Sometimes not, depending on what the show wants. But yeah, we do miss, and that's why we have the net, is because it's definitely not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was amazed, and it was so much fun to watch you two in action. And so, Find My Team is, we kind of talked about this already, but we help high school student athletes with the college
Mhm.
recruiting process. So, we're talking about athletes, and you guys are obviously two of the very best athletes out there. I mean, you have to eat right, sleep right, hopefully eat right, sleep right, and, take care of yourselves, and you're traveling so much. So, I'm going to kind of bring this together with the high school kids who are looking for a place to go to college. So can we back up to your backgrounds and
Mhm.
can you talk, each of you talk a little bit about how this all started? You know, you started very young and then just kind of take us through how you got here.
Go for it.
Sure. I grew up doing gymnastics and a little bit of dance also. My mom did dance. She still does dance it as a 70-year-old right now. But
Nice.
so I grew up doing that from 2 years old. I did both of those. And my parents always took me to see the circuses that came to town, and I loved it. So one year, one of the circuses was offering a raffle for a free week to their circus camp. And so my parents entered me into this grand raffle for there was like one person that won out of the whole summer.
What are the
So that
odds?
so I won. Yeah, and it turns out that's the only time that circus has ever done that
Oh
raffle.
my
So
gosh.
I'm the only person to ever win. So I went to their summer camp. I was like right at the age limit. They let me go anyway. Um, and I absolutely loved it. And so I said that I think this is what I want to do when I grow up. And my parents were like, okay, well let's find a coach. Let's do it. So I kept doing gymnastics and dance, but I also trained for the circus. I went to their summer camp for 3 years, and then I did their touring show. So we toured every summer. We did two shows every single day. I started performing when I was 10 with them and did that through 16. Um, Loved it, was training with really intense coaches. And then it was like time to decide if I wanted to go to college or circus school or what to do. So I decided I would go to college and I would teach at a circus school by the college. Loved that. It was great. I was majoring in physics and psychology, a combo major. It was a cool school and I was designing my own major. Was loving it, but then I got a call one day and said the Flying Trapeze family, they wanted me to come and they were gonna go perform at the Big Apple Circus. And I grew up seeing the Big Apple Circus. I loved it. It was like my dream job at the time. And so I took it. I dropped out of college and took the job. Um, and I was like 19. I started performing with them. And that was it. I finished college eventually, but I did most of it online. Actually,
Oh,
COVID helped me finish it a lot because all the in-person credits I was able to get online during COVID.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So did you start with trapeze? That's what you got into right from the beginning?
So I started with hand to hand, actually, which is a two-person act. You do like handstands on the guy's hands. So
Okay.
it was like this big guy and me, and I was very small. I still am pretty short, but I was very small as a kid, and so he you would uh toss me and do different like flips, mostly from his hands
Gotcha.
on
Awesome.
the ground. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I also started in gymnastics. I think I started gymnastics when I was about six, eventually joining like the competitive team, and I did that for quite a while. It was pretty intense, a lot of days of training, it was like 4 hours a day, 3 or 4 times a week after school. Um, and I was getting a little bit burnt out doing that. And I tried doing trapeze at a gymnastics summer camp actually one time. Um, and then I ended up quitting gymnastics around 11 or 12. And my mom found trapeze classes nearby where we lived. So I started taking trapeze classes. At the time, I didn't know this guy that owned the trapeze school, who he was. Um, it's Tito Gaona, who ends up was a like a headlining act on Ringling Brothers in the 70s
And on the Big Apple
and
Circus.
on Big Apple Circus. He worked there. He worked in Circus Kona, where we're working now. He worked in so many different circuses around the world, which of course I didn't find out until later and after I had started doing trapeze. But so I started with classes with him, ended up, doing the flying part, doing the flips and stuff. And then it was always a little bit taller, a little bit um, bigger than some of the other people. So he wanted me to learn to catch. So I started learning that and started doing that in exchange for classes, and then slowly worked into just working at his trapeze school. I worked at his summer camp for about 6 years, I think, learning a lot of trapeze, rigging stuff, all sorts of things. And then I ended up going to university in New York City for a little bit, and I found a trapeze school there that I was working at. Um, Went there for about 2.5 years, and then kind of the same as her, I got a phone call from somebody and said, "Hey, we're putting an act together for a circus in Japan. Would you be interested in coming?" Doing a slightly different job, where I was also catching people, but standing above the normal catcher that swings. I would stand above in a little belt, so they'd throw people up to me. I'd catch them and then throw them back down, which that was my first gig was doing that. So I ended up leaving school and going to Japan for about a year and a half and doing that. And been doing trapeze ever since then. I've been very lucky to pretty much only do trapeze for work, with other little things scattered in, but pretty much just trapeze.
Yeah.
Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing,
same.
both of you. And you have to love it because you've been doing it for so long.
Oh yeah. And you have to love it too because it's your whole life. Like
Yeah.
we travel and work all the
Yeah, it
time
really is.
with such a small group of people.
Yeah, it's
Um,
more than just a job. It's really a lifestyle. It is your life. And so if you don't love it, you're not going to be able to keep doing it, I don't
yeah.
think.
Yeah. There's definitely circus jobs where you can take a job for a little bit and then come back to your home base.
Mhm.
But we don't have one of those like that. We pretty much travel all the time. And when we do come back home, we stay at my parents' house.
Yeah. We don't
Um,
really. We have a permanent address in Las Vegas, but it's just our friend's house.
yeah.
We have stuff sprinkled all over the world. I have a truck that's in Vegas. She has a car in California. We have a trailer in California, storage unit in Vegas, stuff here at her parents' house, stuff at my parents' house, which is
It's a
also in
mess. It's
Massachusetts,
a mess. But
stuff in Germany.
we're
Yeah.
only ever on break for 2 weeks at a time or so. So we don't really
That
have a place.
Yeah.
that's an incredible life. But there are a couple things you said in there about, becomes your whole life and you have to really love it and all of that. And to become a college athlete,
Same.
there
Mhm.
is that, that same concept. And many, many high school student athletes uh, might not understand that commitment. So can you explain, you kind of did, but can you explain what it took to get there? What did you have to learn this? Were you like in shock one day or how did this happen?
Tons of hours of training for sure. And absolutely a lifestyle shift. I feel like when high school athletes transition to college, it's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a lifestyle
And you do
shift.
just sort of get thrown into it. There's not really much adjustment at all. You just have to get thrown into it and figure it out as you go, kind of.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, very similar because you're in a different living situation than you've probably ever been in before, um, with a different group of people, different team that you're working very closely with, and same in college, probably, live around and hang out with outside of the team also, which is the same we have because when we go to a new place, we have this, you do sort of have a built-in group of friends, group of people that you can go hang out with, but it's just those people. And, you don't tend to have an outside group. So I think it is actually a very, very similar kind of thing to going off and joining a team at a college.
Yeah. You have to find your new routine in every place and your
Mm.
your eating schedule and your how even you're going to eat properly to sustain your workouts and your performances. Yeah.
Yeah, so what are some of the things that you had to really work on to get this different mindset?
Yeah, it's you definitely have to be super focused and I had to have an end goal in mind or like a far goal in mind um to be able to sustain the focus and the responsibility too with eating right and working out right. And it's really hard when you're traveling all the time. It's pretty easy to just stop at the fast food place, but it takes a lot more effort to figure out how to get to the grocery store and cook and yeah, be able to get the right nutrients that you need. It's absolutely a lot more effort,
Mhm.
um, but it's important, and
Yeah.
I had to figure out the schedule to work it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then every time we travel too, it's a totally different schedule. So this contract, we're doing 2 shows every single day, but we have a trailer that we live in, with our own bathroom and our own kitchen.
And it's generally parked right next to the tent.
Right.
So our commute is only, a few hundred meters
Right.
to go to the back
Right.
tent.
So this is an actually really good situation that we have our own kitchen, but sometimes we don't have our own kitchen or we'll be living in hotels, which makes it much more difficult to find your routine and
And it
not
also,
fall into eating
yeah.
out.
And there the routine is interesting because our shows are at like 3 and 7:30, something like that. They're evening shows, and often we do our training after the show. So we'll finish the show at 9, 10 at night. Then we have our training time, and then we have dinner. So a lot of the time we'll be eating dinner at, midnight, 1 in the morning. Whereas when you just saw us was a bit more of a sort of more traditional schedule because we had shows at 11 and 3. Um, and so we were done by about 5 o'clock and we would have dinner at more normal dinner time. Um, that's pretty unusual for us to have that kind of schedule. Generally, it is much later. And so that was actually kind of an adjustment for us to be eating at a more normal time. We're
Well,
used to eating at midnight.
that was lucky for us then that we got
Yeah.
to be able
Absolutely.
to
Yeah,
do
we
things
got to go
together.
out to dinner
Yep.
after.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What are
Which was kind of nice.
what are the biggest lessons that you have learned through this whole journey that you've taken?
Mm, I think it's definitely a go with the flow type of routine and or lack of routine. Um, yeah, I think I've just learned to be a lot more flexible. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that and sort of the coming with that and the sort of going with the flow kind of thing is you have to, things go wrong all the time in the act, with the truck that you're driving, with your house, the water stops working or something, especially in a traditional circus where we're in a like a caravan trailer. Something happens with the power and it's just sort of like, okay, well, this is the new challenge right now. Got to go figure out how to fix this. Or if something goes wrong in the act and somebody can't do their trick. And so I have to, when I'm swinging, I can't talk to the flyers on the other end. So I have to look back. I swing up in front and I lean back like that and I look at them and they'll give me some signal or I'll see somebody different is going and we just have to, go with that now because we don't want the audience to notice that something went wrong. We just try to keep going and do the act as if nothing's wrong. And so there's a lot of problem solving, sometimes very quickly under pressure, sometimes just sort of figuring out, okay, well, the truck broke down. I got to figure out how to get going again.
And then it's usually a team situation. It's usually a all hands on deck. We travel with our act all the time. So depending on the act, 5 to 10 people. And then within the circus too. And it's if somebody has a problem at the circus, if there's, I don't know, if the horse needs something or whatever, or somebody needs anything, they can always call on pretty much anybody to come help. And if you see that there's something that you can help with, everybody always jumps in.
Yeah, and like fairly often we'll have people come knock on the door and like, hey, something's wrong with the water. Can you come help take a look? And they all figure it out. And
Even if it's not your job or
yeah, but people do it anyway. And usually if there's any problems on the road, if you see one of the circus trucks on the side of the road broken down, you're going to pull over and see if you can do something to help. And most other people are also going to pull over if it's possible and see, oh, do you need something? You good? Okay. You're just waiting for this other person. Great. Keep going.
so it really is a team situation in and out of the performance.
Yeah.
And
And
the bigger team too of the whole show.
Yeah, and it wouldn't work otherwise, I don't
There's
think.
no way.
Especially with like the tradition, it's very traditional circus in Germany, in Circus Kona that we're with. It's in a tent. It's moving every week. Everything is taken by trucks to the next town. And if people weren't willing to go out of their way a little bit and help with other stuff, it wouldn't it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, but that's definitely the true definition of team and how you have to do that. You have to have the team. And I feel like today a lot of our teams are struggling, so it's really cool to hear that, you, there is one way to get this thing going. There's one way to keep the show going, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
Everybody, all hands on deck.
all
Yeah.
hands on
Yeah,
deck.
everybody's got to do their job and generally a little bit more than their job too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, which makes it probably even more fun.
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were talking to high school student athletes, and some of them are going for all these different kinds of sports, some of them are going to get somewhere, in a college setting, and some may not. What, if they were interested in doing this, what are the obviously the pros and the cons of doing that, but also how would they even think about this?
If they're interested in joining the circus or
Or
doing,
pursuing something,
yeah,
they
yeah,
might not get their scholarship in their chosen sport, and
yeah, of
college
course.
sports is murky right now. And so here's another whole nother option. How would they find this?
Yeah, and I feel like it's a good transition for high level athletes.
Hmm.
If you if you're burnt out of your sport or you just want to do something else, it's definitely a transition that's possible.
You don't have to be a gymnast, in other words,
You don't
correct? Yeah.
necessarily have to be a gymnast. No.
Yeah, like gymnastics, dance obviously helps, but then there are other jobs that people transition to that background is definitely not necessary.
Yeah. If you want to do flying trapeze, it's a lot easier if you have a background of something that did flips.
Yeah,
So,
especially diving. There are a lot of divers
right.
that end up in trapeze.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of other circus acts. So if you're interested in performing, if you have the type of personality that you like to go and show off a little bit in the ring,
Mm.
it could be really good. And there's so many different options. There's traditional circus, there's more contemporary circus. You could go perform on a cruise ship. You could go
Mm.
fly around the world and perform anywhere you want.
And
Um,
there are so many schools now to learn this kind of thing too, um, all over the world. But especially in the United States, there's a lot of aerial studios. There are a lot of trapeze schools now that teach flying trapeze. Not as many of those because it's a very large apparatus. It's a little more difficult to find a spot to do that.
yeah.
Um, but
Yeah,
there are so many schools that you can go learn something, find out what you like.
right. When we were starting, there really weren't any
Yeah.
schools offering it. So when I learned flying trapeze, I went with a family who had been doing flying trapeze for generations, and he did the same,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, I
He
found
would
it. There
add us.
was a trapeze school, but there were very few at the time, and it was run by, an old circus family guy
Right.
that was, I think, seventh generation, eighth generation circus.
Wow. Yeah.
Because that's really traditionally how the circus is. But now there's so many schools opening. So if you think you might be interested, stop in and talk to them, and they offer a variety of classes. And there's tons of schools,
Yeah,
really.
and as
So go
as
try a
like
bunch.
an athlete already, it's definitely something the transition would be, you might learn a bit more quickly than just some person off the street would.
Absolutely. And it will take a ton of practice
Yeah,
and a lot of time. But if you're into it, it could
it's
be
worth
a,
it.
a fun thing. Yeah.
And it's very common for a lot of, former gymnasts, divers, a lot of people that do sort of, acrobatic kind of things like that. A lot end up in the circus because it's actually, a career that you can take out of it. Whereas like doing professional sports, great career, but it's not always, something that works out or something that, is you want to keep doing forever. Whereas doing it in the circus, um, you can do a little bit longer generally than you might do as like a competitive athlete.
Yeah.
And if you were to just, take your eyes across the country, are there any states that you think have better schools than the others, or is it just
Mm,
happens?
there there are more professional schools opening up, um, and a few even colleges that offer
Mm.
circus programs.
Yeah.
FSU in Florida has a program. I think Illinois State does
Yeah.
also. Um, and actually, recently, the Boston Arts Conservatory started a minor.
Hmm.
Um, so there are definitely college programs like that also. But a quick Google search will pull up
Yeah. And then
all the
there's,
schools.
yeah, and there's a big concentration of schools and stuff in Las Vegas, especially too. Um, it's sort of the sort of like general like hub of circus in this United States used to be in Florida and around Sarasota area because that's where Ringling Brothers had their winter quarters. Now it's kind of shifted a little more to Las Vegas because there are so many shows there. Um, And so there's a lot of schools in Vegas too.
That'll be
Bless
Bless
cut
you.
you.
out. Um, well, okay. So if you had to, send a message to high school student athletes, um, about your journey or whatever, what would you say? What would you say to them?
I think biggest thing probably is be flexible, and don't, like, you can certainly have a goal in mind, have something you're working towards, but you know other things can happen, and let them happen. Sometimes go with the flow.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think be flexible is a big thing, but also if you got some opportunity that you think might be really cool, go for it. That's how I ended up in the circus. I got a call and I told the guy that was asking me if I wanted to come, can I take a day to think about it? I took an hour, I called him back and I said, yeah, I'll come to Japan and be in the circus.
Yeah. Yeah, don't be afraid to follow a lead that you think might be random or might be like, yeah. I also got a cold call basically. I didn't know the people and they said, "Hey, come to Florida." I was like, "Okay, let's go."
Yeah. And it doesn't always work out. I
Yeah.
got a similar call. I drove from Vegas to Texas with my trailer, got there, and the job fell through. And I had to drive back to
Oh,
Vegas 2 days later.
But
So it doesn't always work, but
sometimes the ones that don't work out still kind of work out. You still get to meet the people, you still get
mhm.
um a little bit more into the industry. Um and sometimes following a random thing it might work.
Yeah.
awesome. Well, do you have a favorite place that you have performed?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, oh,
Yeah.
this is my
This
favorite
one.
place that I've performed.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
it's a Cirque du Bouglione in Paris, which
Paris.
is the place that not flying trapeze, but trapeze, I think it was a bar to bar act, was first performed ever by Jules Leotard in November 12th, 1859, I think it was.
7,
I think it's 59.
59.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The building was built in 1852, and there's been a circus in there since then. There's also the movie Trapeze, which I highly recommend to anybody. Came out in 1956, so it's a bit corny. It's cheesy, definitely. It's
Burt Lancaster.
Burt Lancaster,
Oh
Tony
yeah.
Curtis, Gina Lollobrigida, and it was filmed in that building. And it's kind of all about this guy's quest to the triple somersault, which in that time it was like, not many people doing it. Um,
And still it's the big act. It's the big trick that we do in the show. Um
and she does that trick also. She was the 28th woman to ever catch that trick
Oh wow.
in the world.
Fun.
There are a few more now, but
yeah, yeah. Yeah, women in trapeze have started doing a lot bigger tricks, which is amazing. I love to see that. Pretty recently, the first woman caught a double double on trapeze, which is a double layout with 2 twists. Only guys had ever done that. Also a triple pike, which I was working on too, but
yeah.
another girl beat me to it and caught the first one ever. It was super awesome. I love to see that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, do you guys see this coming to an end soon? Or are you like many, many more years?
Yeah, we're debating. I love being on the road. I love traveling. But I'm 35 and my shoulders are starting to feel it. The guy he replaced was
57.
57.
57 when he stopped.
So he can go a
He
while
still works in
longer.
the circus, but he doesn't perform doing the act. Um, I'm 37 now, so I could feasibly do it for quite a bit longer,
Wow.
but if she's not going to be doing it,
Well,
we'll see.
always also there's a woman in Australia. She's 50 something and she's still performing.
Yeah.
So there's always the option to lower your level of trick also. And maybe
And keep going. Yeah.
I don't do triple anymore in the show every day. I did it for 6 years and it took a toll on my shoulders. And so I got to perform it here in Paris, which was
Oh,
my
that's
biggest dream
awesome.
ever.
That's awesome.
But now that we accomplished that, I've taken a step back and now I do a slightly smaller trick in the show. And there's a possibility to keep stepping it the level down a little bit and keep performing if you want to.
So we're not totally sure. It's the moral of the story is we're not totally sure yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would
We're-
assume that the shoulders take the most beating.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For flyers, especially for the people doing the
Yeah.
flips, for
For
sure.
me, not as much. And I've been very lucky, knock on wood, with shoulder pain and stuff. I also have springs on the top of my bar, that give a little bit of
Oh yeah,
damping. Or so if the timing's a little off, if the trick is not quite as good, the springs take that shock instead of my shoulder. So
Yeah.
that helps quite a lot.
But then there's a lot of cross training too. We lift weights. We
Mhm.
make sure we're going to the gym and warming up properly and cooling down. And there's a lot also that goes into the act. We perform for 10 minutes, but I warm up for probably an hour before I go out.
Yeah, we're headed to the gym right after this,
We're headed
actually.
to the
Yeah.
gym after this.
well, that's what I was going to
So
ask you.
even in our off time,
Yeah.
Yeah, your time off, you are training, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
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 And
And
doing more cross training that we might not get to do on the road.
Mhm.
We don't have access to heavy weights on the road. So it's nice to be able to lift while we're home.
yeah,
And
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I try to go to the gym on the road also, but it means finding a new gym every week. Um, which was working out pretty well last year in Germany. We were
yeah.
finding
Some
gym.
circuses will have some sort of setup.
Yeah.
We always will have like our warm-up bar in the backstage. So we have a bar we can hang on, we can do pull-ups, we can do leg lifts, that sort of thing. And then you can find heavy stuff around the circus to pick up if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I found there's like the arches that hold up the outside of the tent. There's one that goes up and then in a little bit like that, and I found a bar on that I go and do pull-ups on every day before the show. I'll do squats with the big tent stakes.
But you do have to be flexible.
Yeah,
You do have to be
a little
resourceful
bit creative.
creative.
and
Yeah,
sometimes go out of your way to make it possible.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So when you're doing two shows a day, are you still training then? You're saying
Yeah,
training
we
after
generally practice, we like to practice 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So we'll have normally 5 performance days in a week. Well, on this show in Germany, we have 5 performance days in a week, which means we will practice generally 3 times after the shows. So we're starting our practice at 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. We eat dinner after that. But we're off for the 2 days because we're not off. We're actually moving the circus to the next city
Mm.
and taking everything down, driving, and setting it back up.
right?
Yeah.
Now, you guys must burn a lot of calories.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
so.
Well, listen, I so appreciate this, and I'm excited to open this up to high school student athletes because, as I was saying, college sports is murky right now, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of uncertainty, and this is a whole nother avenue that athletes might enjoy this. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
and I
so much
think
fun. We get paid to travel the world. Like
yeah,
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 you asked how many countries we've performed in, and it's more than 10 for sure. Like
yeah, probably 15 or so.
it's high.
yeah,
And then from each country, when we were in Budapest, we were there working in the building for 3 months just now. Um, and we got to go to, I don't know, 4 or 5 different countries just from Budapest as our
Yeah, because we
jumping
had
off
a couple
point.
days off there, where we weren't moving because it was in a building.
that's
We
nice.
got to
And
travel
then
from
and then
there
this
too.
show Paris was the same. We were there working for 6 months and we traveled all over on our days off. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
awesome.
awesome. That's a
Yeah,
huge perk.
And I think it's a thing that, a lot of athletes haven't thought of as even a possibility of something to try out, at any time. And if you're an athlete, you're going to be, have that sort of working out mentality. And it's also just a fun way to stay in shape too, even if you don't end up doing it professionally.
Absolutely.
It's fun. You can go take classes and learn something that's very physical. It's a lot of exercise, will get you stronger, even if you don't end up doing it
yeah,
in a performance
Yeah.
at all or
Yeah.
as a job, just doing it.
And college athletes will pick it up faster than
Yeah,
the normal person for sure.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
the learning curve
yeah,
it'll be more fun.
It'll be more
yeah,
fun more
yeah.
quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, more quickly.
Once an athlete, always an athlete.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, you two.
Yeah.
Really
Thanks for
appreciate
having us.
it.